4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Tuesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming on YouTube. 855-212-4CBS is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Got Moist Mike and Stuart Kovacs along the other way, rocking and rolling all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Someone that is a mentor to me and has a new book out and is a former legendary radio host, Angelo Cataldi, will stop by 20 minutes from now. And we'll be joined by Dan Orlovsky, the former NFL quarterback, UConn quarterback, and now superstar at ESPN. He'll join us in the final segment of the show at 5:40 p.m. Eastern, 2:40 p.m. Pacific. We first have to start off, though, with the dumbest ending to a football game that I've ever seen. And I was so annoyed last night at Sean Payton, and he's lucky that Sean McDermott is now looking like he has reached his end in Buffalo, and he couldn't count as well. Because for Sean to just think, with 24 seconds left in the game, and you're going to kick a field goal, if you make it, you go up by 2, for you to just not simply, on third down, have your field goal kicker, Will Lutz, go out there and kick the game-winning field goal and leave 20-something, 19, 18 seconds left on the clock, whatever it would be, and then have your defense be able to prevent Buffalo from getting into field goal range, for that to not be the move that he made, it's the definition of stupidity, and it's just marinated in jackassery. And I think Sean is a heck of a coach. But his one flaw is that he believes he reinvented the game of football and invented the game. He believes he's the smartest guy on the field. And sometimes his hubris leads to his downfall. But for him to methodically think there that I'm going to have Russell Wilson take a knee, and then we're going to have, in 20-something seconds, our kicker who will have enough time to run onto the field, but for him to run and then everyone gets set and to kick a field goal, you're rushing it. And I'm sitting on my couch. I'm watching the ending of that game, and I'm like, he's going to miss it. He's going to miss it. What are they doing? Are they a bunch of idiots? Oh, there's no way Russell Wilson is actually going to take a kneel down. Up, you take the kneel. All right, let's bring on the kicker. Let's bring on the fat offensive lineman. Let's get the long snapper there. Let's get the placeholder down. I go, there's no way this kick is going to go through. And then the kick misses, and I'm laughing. I go, how stupid can you be? Like, are you the dumbest coach ever for a guy that has a brain? And then there was a little yellow handkerchief on the field. Little yellow flag. Yeah. Too many men on the field. Touch the top of your cabeza on the defense. And when that happened, I started laughing even harder. And this is not anything against the Buffalo Bills. And I've been a big Sean McDermott fan. Heck, even before Sean McDermott got a head coaching job, I wanted him to be the next head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles before they hired Doug Peterson. So I say this as a Sean McDermott fan. I say this as someone that knows before Sean McDermott got to Buffalo, the Bills didn't make the playoffs for 18 consecutive seasons. And ever since Sean McDermott got to Buffalo, they've made the playoffs 5 out of 6 years and have been a contender to win it all. But last night was the end for Sean McDermott in Buffalo. Last night was the last straw for Sean McDermott with the Buffalo Bills. Because ever since that horrific moment where they had Kansas City on the ropes, Kansas City fell down, right? The referee is counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Uh-oh. Mahomes stands up. Kelsey stands up. Game goes to overtime. You lose in overtime. Ever since they basically had Kansas City knocked out in their own building at Arrowhead with 13 seconds remaining, and we're on the verge of advancing back to an AFC championship game, and they blew that. It's been all downhill for the Buffalo Bills. And last year, they were able to have success in the regular season, but we've seen that regular season success. But come playoff time, Buffalo almost lost to Skylar Thompson. Who? That's who they almost lost to. Mike McDaniel was hitting like a vape pen on the sideline and was having Skylar Thompson be his quarterback. And you almost lost to them. And then you get back to the divisional round. You had the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Cincinnati Bengals just absolutely emasculated you. They eviscerated you. They embarrassed you in that football game. And a year later, you knew that this season had a little bit of an ominous feel. You knew that this season wasn't expected to be all that great, but you at least thought Buffalo could be a good team. But the moment Stefon Diggs did what he did right before the start of the season, where there was clearly an issue with him, Josh Allen, Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, you knew that this was going to be, to some extent, a bleep show this year. But even with thinking that this would be a bleep show, I didn't think the Bills would sink. I didn't think the Bills wouldn't even be able to get to the playoffs, and that's where they're trending right now. After watching that offense last night, they even fired Ken Dorsey today, the offensive coordinator. We know Leslie Frazier wasn't brought back after this season with that retirement. But you go through all that, and who are the constants that still remain? Josh Allen and Sean McDermott. Well, I could let you in on this secret. You know, this is a big, bold, hot take. Josh Allen's not going anywhere. And I'm not saying that Josh Allen's perfect. I'm not saying he's exonerated of all blame. He needs to protect the football better. He needs to play better for a quarterback that is compensated as if he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But we know how this works. You don't turn on the player. You turn on the coach first. And Sean McDermott has reached his apex with the Buffalo Bills. And last night was the final straw that broke the camel's back. It's over. It's done. McDermott's time in Buffalo, it's no longer a matter of if it's coming to an end, it's just when you're going to move on from him. And I think they'll give him the courtesy to coach out the rest of the season. But even if this team does make the playoffs, they're not doing jack in the postseason. This is not going to be a team that somehow goes to this miraculous run, gets hot in the final 2 months of the season, and then the next thing you know, we say, wow, look at the Bills. They're this great story. Look at the Bills. They're in the Super Bowl. Oh, they're hosting their first ever Lombardi trophy. That ain't happening. And sometimes the guy that knocks down the house and starts to build it up doesn't put the finishing touches on the house. And Sean McDermott, after the season, should not be afforded the opportunity to continue to try to build this mansion. And we all know it. The perfect guy for Buffalo is Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh has his pending issues with the Big Ten and the NCAA. We've seen Jim Harbaugh 4 years in the NFL with the San Francisco 49ers. He made 3 NFC title games and also got to a Super Bowl. That could be the guy that puts the roof on top of the Buffalo Bills house. That could be the guy that puts the cherry on top of the sundae. And he is a perfect fit for Bills Mafia. He is. He's a quirky football guy. That is the Buffalo Bills. And that's who the Buffalo Bills this offseason, the Pagula family. If they want to bring that passionate, loyal, great fan base of the Buffalo Bills their first ever championship, they roll on in with the Brinks truck and they say, hey, Jim Harbaugh, name your price. We'll all wear khakis in the organization. We'll all do push-ups. We'll all do things that make the Buffalo Bills America's team, whatever he's saying right now at Michigan. We'll do that in Buffalo. We'll go all in. Because whether you like Harbaugh or not, you could all admit he knows what he's doing. He wins games in college. He wins games in the pros. And they need a guy that is a winner. And McDermott did a phenomenal job. McDermott brought passion back to that fan base. McDermott brought hope back to that fan base. McDermott made the Bills a contender. But the last 2-3 years, they went from being the team to just, at best, Buffalo could just be a good team. They've regressed ever since the craziness of blowing that game up against the Kansas City Chiefs with 13 seconds remaining. And if you think, Zach, it's an overreaction last night, it's not. It started week 1 when Aaron Rodgers goes down 4 plays into the season, they lose. I'm going to pop champagne when they beat the Raiders and the Commanders. Give me a break. Yeah, sure, good win up against the Miami Dolphins, but it's almost as like they did pop champagne after beating the Miami Dolphins, and they haven't woke up ever since. They haven't focused ever since. You're jet-lagged going to Jacksonville. to go to London to play the Jaguars. You barely beat the Giants. You should have lost that game. You lose to the Patriots. I say this as a Patriot fan. My football team stinks. That's laughable. You made Mac Jones and Mike Gesicki actually look good. What, am I going to throw a parade because you beat Tampa Bay? You lose to the Bengals. You lose to the Broncos. So right now you're sitting at 5-5. McDermott's defense has not played great this year. He's now in charge of the defense. The offense looked lost without Brian Daboll, as he's been with the Giants for the last 2 seasons. You just fired an offensive coordinator. Where is this team going? And I really do believe now that they're going to miss the playoffs. Because how can I believe in them? Like, yeah, they should get to 6-5. You would think they should be able to split against the Jets and beat the Jets this weekend. But after that, you play Philly. You play the Chiefs. Even though I don't love the drama Dallas choking Cowboys, and we'll get to them in just a bit. But Dallas is better. All right, maybe you get a victory against the Chargers. Maybe you get a victory against the Patriots. And you get the Dolphins at the end of the year, who are going to be looking for payback. And would love to put the nail in the coffin on your season. So this Bills team is just not moving forward. They're moving backwards. And when that happens, and I do believe Sean McDermott is deserving of another coaching job. I do believe if I was a team, and I know he's a defensive-minded coach, so that's not the most attractive thing in the stupid hiring cycle, but Sean McDermott is a good coach. There's a lot of teams and a lot of organizations that their fan bases would love to do what Sean McDermott has done in his last 6-7 seasons. Where out of 5 out of the last 6 years they've been to the playoffs, they've been a team that it feels like they've been in the divisional round weekend bare minimum each and every year. But just doing that now is not good enough. And it just shows you once again, when you have an opportunity to win, you better find a way to win. Because we all thought Buffalo, they had this great window. Oh, Buffalo, they had this great team. Oh, Buffalo's going to win a Super Bowl. That's what everyone thought. Everyone in America picked them to win the championship last year. And you go from blowing that that lead with 13 seconds left to, okay, that stinks, but you'll be back. And you never found a way to get to an AFC championship or to get to a Super Bowl again since that moment when you lost in the divisional round. We all thought they bare minimum be able to get to an AFC championship game, and it wouldn't only just be one that they were in a few years ago up against Kansas City. And they had like a 9-point lead, and they blew that too. We all thought those things were going to happen. But things change, and things change rather quickly in the NFL. Go ask the Texans. Go ask the Jaguars, right? The Jaguars back-to-back years picking number 1 overall. They were in the playoffs the second round last year. The Texans go from the second overall pick to now they have a team that's alive to potentially make the playoffs. But this Bills team, with this regime, it's coming to a close. You need to retool it. You need to do a little bit of a reset. And it's not a hard reset. Like, you don't have to burn the entire thing down. You don't have to wipe clean the entire computer. But you got to get a big chip out of that computer. You need to go for repair. And that repair, unfortunately, is sending Sean McDermott packing. And you need to go get the right guy. And I don't want to get rid of Sean McDermott if it means, we're going to try to bring in someone that is a young, up-and-coming offensive or defensive coordinator. No. This is not where you're building from the ground up. You have some pieces. You still have a window. But you need a new head coach. You need a head coach with experience. You need a head coach that has won some playoff games and has coached in some big games. And out of the realistic options that are potentially out there, no one fits that definition for who the Buffalo Bills' next head coach should be more than Jim Harbaugh right now. 3 NFC title games with the 49ers in 4 years. A Super Bowl appearance as well. You need a coach that knows how to win. You need a professional coach. You need a coach that has been in the league, a coach that has had success in the league and has accolades attached to his resume. So get rid of McDermott and bring the khakis to Buffalo and have Jim Harbaugh jumping through tables, hanging out with the guy in the parking lot that's throwing mustard and ketchup in everybody's face, and make sure he's the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Because if you don't do that and you run it back with McDermott, it's going to be the same old crap. And I don't want to take a gamble of, we hope this offensive coordinator will turn out to be something. We hope this defensive coordinator will turn out to be something. I need some success in the past to move the Buffalo Bills in the right direction in the future. What do you think about Jim Harbaugh potentially to the Buffalo Bills? 855-212-4CBS, 42-27. We'll take a break. When we return on the other side, legendary Philadelphia radio host Angelo Cataldi will join us to talk about his new book.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. You know, one of my first bosses in this business, Eric Spitz, once said to me, there's a poke scale: passion, opinion, knowledge, entertainment. That last part, the E, entertainment, I learned from the legendary Angelo Cataldi when I was his intern. And I don't know if there's a greater entertainer in the history of the sports radio business than my next guest. And that is the legendary Angelo Cataldi, who somehow has a book out now. I'm surprised he did write this book. It's called Loud: How a Shy Nerd Came to Philadelphia and Turned Up the Volume in the Most Passionate Sports City in America. Angelo Cataldi has the book right there on our YouTube stream, which, by the way, Angelo, before I bring you in, I think you'll get a chuckle out of this. There is a commenter on our YouTube chat who said, Jeff Howell, who said, the last time I called Angelo, he told me to go to hell and hung up because he brought up some stupid point about Brookie, who was very important to you. And the great Angelo Cataldi is kind enough to join us right now. Ange, how you doing?
Zach, I'm great. Wow, I was that rude? It's shocking.
Well, usually when I heard you say go to hell to someone, it wasn't a caller. It was to one of the old bosses at WIP, if we're being honest.
That happened too. Let's say I had a very chaotic 33 years in the radio business, and I'm happy to not be in it anymore. Now I'm in the book business.
Yes, we'll get to the book in just a second. Let me just say, to make this clear, we are not talking about Spike Eskin as that boss that Angelo told to go to hell. I still want to be employed, and you also had a great relationship with my current boss.
Well, the thing with Spike Eskin is, I realized when I was writing the book why I was so much kinder and gentler with Spike Eskin than the others, because he saved my life, literally saved my life. We were doing a photo shoot, and I was supposed to be taking a big bite out of a cheesesteak. And what happened was the cheesesteak got stuck in my throat, and I couldn't breathe. And Spike, even though he had never once in his whole life done a Heimlich maneuver, he Heimlich'd me back to life. And after that, Zach, it's really hard to scream at a boss when you realize the only reason you're there is because he acted quickly to save you. So maybe that's whatever it was, he was a very good boss. And I just had a chance to talk to him over the weekend. And he's a good guy. They're in the radio business. For every guy who knows what he's doing, it is a good guy. There's about 20 who aren't. So I was lucky with Spike.
Angelo Cataldi here with us. So, how a shy nerd came to Philadelphia and turned up the volume in the most passionate sports city in America. When I was around you, I never sensed that you were shy, but at that point, you've already became a legend and you were already the voice of the city. So tell me how this ended up happening, where you went from being shy to maybe the most bombastic person that Philadelphia has ever seen.
I think it's safe for me to say now that the bombast was part of an act. All right. That the fact is that if you had seen me in high school, I was the vice president of the chess club. I was not even the president. All right. So I was not even among the nerds, the king nerd. Right. But then I went to journalism school, and I learned how to take on a persona when I was covering players and stuff. But deep down, I just wanted to stand against the wall. I was kind of like a wallflower. When I got to radio, it became performative. I had to come on every day and connect with the Philadelphia fan base that is extremely passionate and has a lot of emotion. So I had to dig deeper, and I had to be somebody that I wasn't until I became it. And after a number of years, there was a blurring between who I was and who I, became on the radio. But it was part of doing the job at the best level that you can, making what you do fun. And in order to do that, you got to make fun of people, and you have to make fun of yourself.
And you always had that passion. Like, there's a lot of hosts that when they make it big and when they get all the success, it becomes a machine. And then they start playing point guard. They delegate. They try to take a lot of the work off their plate and put it to other people. But for you, like when I was your intern, I never beat you into the office once. I thought you used to sleep there all the time. And you would sit there and you would write notes on that notepad. And you were a workaholic. Why didn't you ever mail it in, just wondering?
Simplest, I can answer it with one word, Zach: insecurity. There was never a day in all the years I did the show on WIP radio that I felt that I had 4 hours of material unless I over-prepared. So, I mean, I came in and the last 10 years, I literally scripted every segment of every show so that I knew I would cover what I needed to cover and would not run out no matter what else happened. If I had a string of really awful callers, I had other material I could go to. I just wanted to know that before I started a show, I had the ingredients to do a good one. And that takes a lot of discipline and a lot of time. But it was more out of fear than any work ethic or commitment. I didn't want to be caught short. And that was the biggest thing. Right. I'm sorry. I got my grandson in the background here. I apologize.
No, it's fine. This is a family affair, Angelo Cataldi. This is all right.
Well,
there's no problem.
Zach, when you retire, guess what? The family really becomes more a part of your life, which is great. Until they get on your nerves. Then it's not that great.
Then you'll actually be missing Andy Bloom in a few weeks.
Oh, no. That's one of the many bosses that I'm sure at some point I told to go to hell.
Yeah, I actually remember one of those meetings. I was in the intern room and you were sitting there and you were like, I'm done. I'm never coming back. And it was in like 2013, 2014. And you were threatening retirement then, and you didn't retire up until last year. It's almost been a year now. Why was it time to finally hang it up and walk away?
Well, long before you were there, I threatened retirement. All right. And in the book, Zach, this is the proudest thing in the whole book. In 1995, I was 5 years in, and I couldn't stand my boss. I mean, I hated him with a passion. His name was Tom Big.
Sure, yeah.
And I went to my agent, and my contract was running out. And I said, I don't think I want to work at WIP anymore. I can't stand my boss. And he said, let me take care of it. And it's in the book, because people always thought it was urban myth that it didn't happen. In my contract, it said that my boss could not speak to me if I choose not to speak to him.
That's amazing.
It says it in page 5 of the contract. And CBS was the owner back then, and CBS signed off on it. How crazy is that they basically took the morning show host and made it so that he never had to speak to his own program director? That's a great accomplishment for my agent, if not for me. Now, why did I know it was time? I didn't positively know it was time. I knew after the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017 that it was safe to leave because I had experienced the ultimate. But I knew it was perfectly timed after I retired, when at my old radio station, they decided with another one of my interns, one that I didn't like as much as you, Zach. His name is Jack Fritz. All right. And he decided,
I know where this is going.
WIP to create a standing ovation for Trey Turner. I think it was in August when he was hitting like 230 and had signed a $300 million contract. And he wanted the whole crowd to stand and encourage this man who was stealing money from the fans' pockets. And I said at the time that if I was still there, I would have done everything I could to sabotage what he was trying to do. And then it worked. Then Trey Turner became the Trey Turner that was worth $300 million. And I went, oh, I'm the guy that led the boost for Donovan McNabb at the NFL draft in 1999. My days are done. That era of negativity in Philadelphia sports is changing. And I don't want to be there to see it change anymore.
Angelo Cataldi here with us. You talked about the entertainment part earlier and how some of it could be an act. And, right, we're all performing to some extent, but we do mean what we say, even if we get carried away at some times. How do you want people to remember Angelo Cataldi, and what do you want them to know about the true Angelo Cataldi?
Yeah, I was with a bunch of college kids last night, and I said, it's not making stuff up. It's taking what you feel and amplifying it and making it more entertaining. So if you dislike a player, maybe you hate him on the air, that kind of thing. But the thing I would like to be, if I had a legacy, it would be that I represented the amazing fans in this city more than anything else, Zach. And, I got a lot of stories in this book about a guy who came into the pregame show that we had with 1,000 people in a tent and cranked up a chainsaw. I got some of the sickest stuff. What I have in this book is as bad as throwing snowballs at Santa, if not worse. But here's what else I have in the book. I have the story of a guy named Kenny Justice, who 3 years before I retired, called into the show. And at the end of his call, I just asked him where he was going. And he said he was going for kidney dialysis in a hospital. And he told how his life was being under some duress because he had kidney failure. And within an hour, 28 people had called a phone number to donate body parts, donate their kidneys for him. That's the other side of the passion of Philadelphia. And I want more people to understand that this lazy image of Philadelphia fans as a bunch of thugs and goons and miserable people, we're passionate. We're over the top at times. But we're just as passionate about the good stuff. Philadelphia's got a big mouth. It's also got a big heart.
I also don't
that's what I want to be.
Yeah, I don't want this to turn into where it's like, oh, I'm kissing your ass here and genuflecting to Angelo Cataldi, but
I really need it. Please kiss it.
But what I will say is, when you were on the air in that last segment, you have 10 minutes left right in your radio career. This speaks to the person who Angelo Cataldi is. I've never heard a radio host in their final segment thank their interns and mention some of the interns like me, Colleen Wolfe, Dave Uram, a few other people as well. Like, that to me, when I was listening, but then so many people start texting me, Angelo just mentioned you. I'm like, why the heck is he mentioning me when this should be all about him in the final 10 minutes of his career? And it shows how much you cared about the entire product and everyone you worked with throughout the years.
That is true, but that is not what I am proud of about my final segment, Zach.
I know what it is.
I made
You ripped Jonathan Gannon one last time, right?
Yes.
I heard it.
In the final segment of 33 years, I set aside half of the segment to rip a sports figure from Philadelphia, because that is my other legacy. I let him have it. And I am not shirking away from that. I am proud that I was able to do that, even though nowadays, apparently, we applaud for losers. But Zach, the reason I mention you guys are you all soon, if not already, will exceed anything I ever accomplished. I am so proud of what you've done and what Colleen Wolfe has done at NFL Network, and Mike Sealski and John Gonzalez and all the other people I got to work with. You guys are the next generation, and it is time for you to take over. And I know we're in good hands.
I appreciate you saying that. Last thing I'll ask you, once again, the publisher is Triumph Books. Make sure you go get it. Loud by Angelo Cataldi, how a shy nerd came to Philadelphia and turned up the volume in the most passionate sports city in America. And Angelo is holding up the book right now on our YouTube stream. If you can't hear it, see it on the radio, obviously. Last thing I want to ask you. You go on one of these tours. You get asked 3,000 questions. Is there anything you haven't been asked that you want to just say, okay, maybe someone should ask me about this? Like, what's the one topic that you really want to hit on?
I've never been asked the sports figure I like the most.
Who is that?
Because I have this reputation. And the sports figure I don't like, I love, is Mr. Doug Peterson, the former coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, who, A, won a Super Bowl, the only one the Eagles ever won, and B, answered every question I asked after games for 5 years with honesty and respect for the fans. And I don't have enough time to say there were people I really admired, and Doug is at the top of the list. And I am a big Jacksonville Jaguars fan because that man is a winner. And no one ever asked me about the positive. So thanks for doing it. It's Doug Peterson.
I was really surprised the answer wasn't Gabe Kapler there.
All right, don't do that. Don't do that, Jack. Don't do that. I'm trying to avoid that. That's one I get asked in every interview, and I won't do it. He's fired. Show some mercy.
Wow. What, are you going to give him a standing ovation next time you see him, Angelo, in his next job?
No, never.
Well, make sure you get the book, Loud, How a Shy Nerd Came to Philadelphia and Turned Up the Volume in the Most Passionate Sports City in America. Angelo, can't thank you enough. Appreciate you doing this.
Keep up the great work, my friend. You're the best, Zach. Thanks, buddy.
You got it. There he is, the great Angelo Cataldi joining us. We'll take a break. When we come on back, Quinn Ewers looking like he's going to return to Texas next year. What does that mean for Arch Manning? We'll discuss. Update time first. Here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
And this report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com. The first domino has fallen in Buffalo, where offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey was fired after last night's loss. The Bills are now 5-5, and the offense has sputtered, committing 4 more turnovers last night. Joe Brady will take over in the interim. Cowboys linebacker Leighton Vander Esch will miss the remainder of the season with a neck injury that also jeopardizes his future. Browns running back Nick Chubb underwent a second surgery today in his torn ACL. It was a success. He's expected back in 2024. In the NBA tonight, the Sixers currently hold the league's longest winning streak. They have won 8 in a row since losing on opening night and will look to extend that streak tonight against the Pacers, while the Timberwolves look for their 7th straight against the Warriors in San Francisco. Baseball's Manager of the Year will be announced tonight, while the New York Mets introduce their new manager, Carlos Mendoza. I'm Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio is everywhere, at home, in your car, and of course on your phone and tablet. Find us on your local affiliate, SiriusXM Channel 158, or the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio.
Jacksonville is kind of the team where if you want to equate it to a freshman quarterback, that's a 4 or 5-star recruit in college, and there's so much expectation, there's so much buzz, there's so much hype. And then you get him on the field and you go, yeah, that quarterback is too young. That quarterback is not ready to play. And that's what you're seeing right now with the entirety of the team in the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Here's Zach Gelb.
The Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the Armed Forces, DoD veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. This week's player is Texans defensive lineman Sheldon Rankins in Sunday's 30-27 win over the Bengals. Rankins had 5 tackles, sacked Joe Burrow 3 times, and forced a fumble. The former first-round pick now has 27.5 career sacks. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. So, a few things here. I was reading earlier today via On3 Sports that Quinn Ewers is now expected to return for the 2024 season with the Longhorns. Now, all of us, when Arch Manning committed to Texas, were under the belief that maybe Arch would get on the field this year. And then it was kind of pointed out in the summer, if you follow the depth chart, that Arch Manning wasn't even the third string or the second string quarterback. He was the third string quarterback because Malik Murphy was in there as a second string quarterback. So then you have Quinn Ewers miss a little bit of game time, and it was Murphy who ended up starting. So Arch Manning is not close to seeing the field. It doesn't mean that if he started tomorrow, do I think he'd be terrible? Absolutely not. I think he'd be good. But it's clear that this year, it's a wait and see. You're not expected to play. There's only 2-3 weeks left in the season. And if you look at it, Texas has a great chance to win the Big 12 championship, win out in their final year in the Big 12. And if they only have one loss, you would think they'd be in the college football playoff. So if they go to the college football playoff, a lot of people were under the assumption that going into this year, two things would happen. Either Quinn Ewers would play really well, and he would go to the NFL, or Quinn Ewers would not play well, and either it was transfer again, or it's going to turn the baton over to Arch Manning. So going into next year, if Quinn Ewers is back, and this is not sealed, signed, and delivered, it was in the report, and it was also talked about Pete Thamel, it's trending that way, but it's not a final decision. So take that for what it's worth. But with that being said, if Quinn Ewers is back, I'm not saying there's not a road for Arch Manning to not get on the field. You would think Murphy is going to transfer this offseason. Quinn has got hurt 2 times during the last 2 seasons. So if Quinn's back, you would assume if they do get to a Big 12 championship game and a college football playoff spot, how the heck is that guy not starting? And this has been actually, I kind of think, the most surprising thing of the college football season. Samter, when we were talking about Arch Manning before the start of the season, or as some people here on CBS Sports Radio would say, Arch Manning, when we were talking about Arch Manning, whatever you want to refer to him, there was a belief that inevitably at some point this year, and this was even coming from someone that picked Texas before the year, not to get to the college football playoff, but to win the Big 12 championship, that at some point the crowd and the crazy Texas fan and the passionate Texas fan on any little mistake by Quinn Ewers would be calling for Arch Manning, and there's only so much Sark could do in waiting and waiting and waiting. There has not even been a legitimate moment that has resonated nationally, even with the Quinn Ewers injury, where there has been a big push. Not that we don't want to see Arch Manning play, but it doesn't feel like there's been any pressure coming from the fan base to put Arch Manning on the field. And that, to me, is the stunning part, because I thought it kind of would have been Tebow-esque, where when Tebow was in the NFL and he was a backup and everyone knew he can't play, here we think that Arch Manning could play, and he has a number 1 ranking and all that stuff attached to his name. But we thought eventually, like, the Manning fan and the Texas fan would be so crazy and so nuts, it would kind of have that Tebow effect where you force the player on the field. But we haven't seen that yet. And it's not as if this is September, it's October. We're already midway through November now. And barring something crazy where Ewers and Murphy both get hurt, you're not going to see Arch Manning start a game this year for the Texas Longhorns. And that's the crazy part to me, is that there hasn't been a moment in the Texas season where there was a dip enough in play or an injury, even when there was an injury, that constituted that fan base to go nuts and go crazy and get Arch on the field.
I think part of it is Malik Murphy hasn't looked great the past couple of weeks, but they've done enough to win, so there hasn't been a need for it.
And Quinn's back now, too.
Yeah, I mean, had they almost lost a game, or had they had a close game where Murphy was part of the reason why they almost lost or did lose, different story. But they've been beating up on bad competition without him, and so I guess that's it. I think people maybe in Texas, they're excited enough about the prospects of this year. They're not thinking about the future right now. They're thinking about the present. And Quinn Ewers is the present. So maybe they're just kind of biding their time for Ewers. Maybe if they had lost a couple more games, maybe if Ewers was hurt for a lot longer, or if he was struggling on the field.
Yeah, because he only missed 2 starts. It was the BYU game where BYU's not that great, and they blew him out, even though Satake's done a good job. And they just came off that victory, top 25 against Kansas State. And TCU by name, right? People go, oh, they made the national championship last year, but TCU's not having a good season. They've had a massive fall off.
And listen, I'm actually happy that we're not hearing the Arch Manning calls, because he's a true freshman. And we've heard all the different stories about how the Manning family.
Well, I think this is calculated. I think this is by design.
In
By the
what
Manning
way?
family.
In what way?
I think they picked Texas. I'm not saying they identified that they wanted Arch to sit for 2 years, but they didn't want him to play this year. Because a lot of times, look at Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert was at Oregon for a while. And then he stayed too long, even when he finished his career winning a Rose Bowl, where he didn't fall and plummet down the draft order, but he went from the year before potentially being the number 1 overall pick to then falling to the 3rd quarterback off the board and being the 6th overall pick in the draft. So sometimes when you get deemed the guy and you play for a few years, even if you're playing at a high level, people just naturally get fatigued because they've already seen you at your best. But then it also works the other way, where if you only play 1 year, it's like, doesn't have enough experience. And I read a quote today from Archie Manning, and this was from today. Every situation is different, or as some would say, Archie Manning. Every situation is different. If you remember, Peyton and Eli went to school early for spring training. Peyton got thrown in for his first game as a freshman. He played a great deal that season. Tennessee had a great offensive line and 2 really good running backs, so that allowed him to work into it. Eli had what I think is the best course. He redshirted his first year, was a backup in his second year, and then started in his 3rd year. So we all know that name recognition, Peyton Manning is the most valuable Manning in terms of name recognition and career. But in the Manning family, Archie is literally the grandfather. He is the patriarch in the family. And I think they're following Archie's lead on this. I really do.
But I think part of it, honestly, if you really think about what Eli and Peyton went through, and obviously what Archie went through, it's a different football now, right? Like Johnny Manziel, Jameis Winston, Tim Tebow, guys winning the Heisman as freshmen and sophomores. It's different, right? If you're good enough to play, you play as early as possible now. It's not the same where, you get drafted and you sit for 3 years and then you get in there.
But those are all guys that don't come from the Manning football factory. And there is a science behind all the madness here. There really
but
is.
Science has to adapt with the times as well.
Sure, but how many times do you see a football coach that is skeptical of adapting to the times? Look at Dabo Swinney right now.
And look what's happening. He's falling behind. So maybe the key for Arch would be to adapt to the new systems and get in there as early as possible.
But we're talking about team success, right? This is an individual. Like when I talk about Dabo, that's a failure of team success. We're just talking about an individual. And if the Mannings think patience is good here, I'm not going to crush him for it. Because how many times you talk about in the NFL, you throw a guy to the Wolves too early and he's not ready. And I think they're not thinking about the team success of Texas. They're thinking about the individual success of Arch Manning for not only his college career, but then also his NFL career. And that's the thing that I'm going to be fascinated to see. When Quinn Ewers comes back, does Arch transfer? I don't think he will. There's some destinations that would love to have him. Alabama, Oregon, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. I'm sure would all be interested, right? All those top dogs. But I really do believe this is by design. And I do think this is like the scientifical approach by the Manning family. And I'm not saying they are imploring Sark to not play him next year. But if he has to wait 2 years, it would seem like a long time to wait. But I don't believe the Manning family would be all bummed out about it. Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
How we doing? Hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. I'm still stunned from last night's ending between the Denver Broncos and the Buffalo Bills. If you watch that game, it felt like Denver was going to win the game. And as the game is playing out, and even with the signs where it appears that Denver is the better team, at the end of the game, Sean Payton tried to basically eject himself right off the seesaw and the roller coaster ride and basically say, I want no part of this anymore, and I don't want to win this football game. Because that play on the game-winning field goal attempt, where there's 23, 24 seconds left, and you say to Russell Wilson, we don't got a timeout, take a knee, and then have your field goal kicker run onto the field to attempt a game-winning field goal, you were asking for problems. And I said this earlier, I'll say it again. Everyone has that moment in sport where you go, no, what are you doing? This is stupid. And then it's, yes, it actually worked. There were a lot of curse words. There were a lot of bad things being said about the Broncos head coach because the kicker misses the kick through all that just chaos and mayhem. He misses the kick, and everyone's giving, right, Sean, the double middle fingers and everything. You're just absolutely crushing the coach because it was stupid. Everyone knew it was stupid. And he got bailed out. He got bailed out because another team head coach did not have his team ready. When you have 12 players on the field, it's just inexcusable. And we've seen it now both ways. Not enough guys on the field and too many guys on the field. If you go back to that Ohio State-Notre Dame game this year, Marcus Freeman didn't have enough guys on the field on the final play of the game. In this case, Sean McDermott had too many guys on the field. Would have been better for Sean McDermott if he only had 10 guys on the field. So when that kick misses, you think the Bills just survived, and it's one of those moments where the Broncos just snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, but they got bailed out. And the moment where you get bailed out, you move the kick up a little bit better, but more importantly, you get to wait, you get your timing down, you get some patience, you don't make it a circus. You knew the second opportunity, Lutz was going to make the kick, and that's what happens. So from there, there's two takeaways. Takeaway number one, we've already did. That was it for Sean McDermott in Buffalo. You can get rid of Ken Dorsey today. You can maybe get on a little bit of a run, inspire hope. The Buffalo Bills need to get rid of Sean McDermott at the end of the season. McDermott took you so far. McDermott's been a really good coach. Didn't make the playoffs 18 consecutive years. He walks in with Tyrod Taylor, of all people. Remember that putrid football game? It was Jacksonville and Buffalo. Down in Jacksonville on Wild Card Weekend during his first season. Then they get Josh Allen, and they made the right move, bringing in Stefon Diggs. And McDermott's time as the head coach has led to 5 playoff trips in 6 years. Multiple AFC East championships. But ever since losing that game to Kansas City, not talking about the AFC championship game, I'm talking about the divisional round, the famous one. Maybe one of the best football games you've ever seen in the divisional round. Looks like Kansas City's going to go down. Bills up with 13 seconds left, and Kansas City somehow gets into field goal range, and then they get the game winner in overtime with Travis Kelce. Ever since that moment, we may not have known it then because we still went into the next season. Oh, the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl. The Bills are going to be everybody's pick to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Looking back on it, they were never able to recover from that moment. Because even at times during last year, the Bills looked legit. The Bills looked awesome. But then come playoff time, they were flat. And this year, you're seeing the signs that part of this regime needs to go. And you need to really not do a hard reset, but reset some parts of the organization, some important parts of the organization to advance this thing forward and to get the Bills back on track. Because a lot of people today are going to get on the air and they're going to say, oh, the Bills are dead. Oh, the Bills don't have a window anymore. The Bills suck. The Bills are awful. The Bills are terrible. That's not true. The Bills could still win. The Bills could still be a good team. But we've seen them be a good team before. It's now capitalizing with the quarterback who was to cut down on the turnovers, but it's now capitalizing still having that quarterback. And you can't punt that once again with problems in that organization and allow McDermott, who's good, but clearly has reached his limit in Buffalo, and allow him still to be the head coach. And let me be clear. I'm not advocating that today you got to get rid of Sean McDermott today, like right now, this second. But you look around, it's starting to be the Will Smith kind of meme, where he's standing around in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air house, and it's just him with the carpeting in the big mansion, and there's no people, there's no furniture, there's nothing. Because you had Leslie Frazier. Leslie Frazier's no longer there, the defensive coordinator. You took over the defense. Brian Daboll departed because people wanted to be like Buffalo, and the Giants wanted to copy Buffalo. So they get Joe Shane. They get Brian Daboll. And the replacement, who was close with Josh Allen, in Ken Dorsey, he's now gone today. And he's sent packing because the offense isn't good enough. So the defense is not good enough. That's all McDermott. The offense isn't good enough. McDermott, even though he's not an offensive guy, he's in charge of the coaching staff. And this team, ever since losing Brian Daboll, has gone the wrong way. How many more excuses does Sean McDermott get? To me, 0. No more. You don't get this right. You don't find a way to turn this around from now until the end of the season. You miss the playoffs, or you make the playoffs, and you have an embarrassing performance. There should be no way, if the Bills are serious about winning, why Sean McDermott would be back next year. And that's why I opened up the show saying it should be Jim Harbaugh as the next head coach. You need a guy that's been accomplished in this league, has been successful in this league, and in 4 years in San Francisco, Jim Harbaugh, 3 NFC title games, and also got to a Super Bowl appearance. So let's set aside the Bills part. Now going to the Broncos part. It's kind of funny when a conversation derives for the majority of the season. And for most of this season, the conversation around Russell Wilson was that him and Sean Payton don't have a good relationship. And at the end of the year, there's going to be a split. There's going to be a divorce. That was one conversation. The other conversation was Kyler Murray with the Cardinals. Oh, coming off the ACL, who knows if he's going to play? The Cardinals will easily be picking top 3 in the draft. And, yeah, they'll go draft the quarterback and move on from Kyler Murray. It is funny to me, after 9 or 10 weeks of that conversation, as we just wrapped up week 10 of the NFL football season, that you have a Broncos victory where Russell Wilson plays well. You have a Kyler Murray return with the Cardinals where they beat the Falcons. That now, this week, we're going to be spending time. Yesterday, we did this with Kyler Murray. Today, we're going to do this with Russell Wilson, where the opinions have now changed. The opinions have now shifted, where 9, 10, those last 9, 10 weeks, it was Russ is gone in Denver. Russ is screwed in Denver. The only thing that's going to keep him there is his contract. And with Kyler Murray, most of the conversation was he's getting traded. He looked good in Minnesota. He looked good in Atlanta, where they trade him inside division to Seattle. Like, those are the conversations we've had. Those are conversations I've had and thoughts that I've had. But Russell Wilson now, if you have to evaluate the entire body of work, and we know this Broncos team still has a long ways to go, and there's been some good, there's been some bad, but the facts are statistically, even though Bill Belichick will say, stats are for losers, you do have Russell Wilson throwing for 1,806 yards right now, and that's not like the greatest thing in the world, but he's completing nearly 68% of his passes. That's pretty damn good. And also, with Russell Wilson, it's 18 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. That's pretty damn good. And he's been hit. Like, they got to beef up that offensive line. He's been sacked 30 times this year. And he got sacked quite a bit last night. But Russell Wilson is going to walk away from this season, even if you don't think he's great, and I don't think he's great right now. And he's great in the first half. The second half, he could be better. But, he did his job last night. You're going to walk away at the end of the season saying, Russell Wilson doesn't need to be traded. And if that's the conversation with the team that has a lot of holes, their offensive line's not good. Defensively, that defense, they need more talent, even though we went into that year praising the secondary, but they could get better up front. Like, there's a lot of holes here with the Broncos. We know the coach, even though he put his foot in his mouth to start the year going after Nathaniel Hackett, and actually maybe the best thing to happen to Nathaniel Hackett, because Nathaniel Hackett became a victim. Nathaniel Hackett became someone that people felt sorry for. And notice now, when they look at the putrid state of the Jets, no one's crushing Nathaniel Hackett. It's all Zach Wilson. So I think people have let Nathaniel Hackett off the hook. So maybe you should be thanking Sean Payton, even though Sean did something very stupid and said something stupid that was unnecessary before the start of the season. But when you look at financials, and I know sometimes people will say, oh, financials don't matter. In the NFL, to some extent, they do because of the dead cap. And even though you could have all these stat geeks tell me how it's easy to get out of the contract, blah, 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 with how much money and how many draft picks they just invested in Russell Wilson, I got to think with the season that he's having this year, at the end of the year when they do their evaluations, when Sean and the GM talk, and when they talk with ownership, and when they look at what Russell Wilson did, they're going to say, we're content giving him another season. We're curious what he could do from here on out. And Russ still has a long ways to go. You know, if we go through right now who the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, I don't think Russell Wilson's a top 10 quarterback. He's just on the outside of it. But he is starting to salvage his time in Denver, where last year it was a disaster. Last year, he was the punchline to every joke. I'm not telling you this is going to work. I'm not telling you that you're going to be doing somersault in the streets for the next few years if you're a Broncos fan. But with Russell Wilson right now, I don't think they're going to divorce, barring just an epic, and I mean epic failure down the stretch. And I'm not saying this team's a playoff team. I don't think that for a second. But his stats are going to be good enough where you're going to say, all right, our draft pick isn't top 5, so are we just going to get rid of a guy and have no plan? Because that's the part that doesn't make sense. You can't get rid of Russell Wilson without having a plan. Because not that it's got this bad for the Broncos in terms of the individual quarterback play, and Russ has not been good. But look at what the Raiders did. The Raiders got rid of Derek Carr. They had no plan. They're like, oh, we'll hope to get that Brady guy. Oh, Brady retires? I thought Josh McDaniels was like best friends with him. Oh, it didn't work out with Aaron Rodgers. We didn't really pursue that. Oh, we'll give 3 years to Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, that's going to work. Now Jimmy Garoppolo, as Stu is catching some strays here, and I apologize about that, Stu. Now Jimmy Garoppolo's bench for Aiden Bleepin O'Connell. So don't just get rid of the quarterback just for the sake of getting rid of the quarterback. Get rid of the quarterback if there's a need to get rid of the quarterback. And if you do get rid of the quarterback, you better have a plan. And I don't see the name out there that's going to be good enough, or the move that you can make in the draft where the Broncos are going to be now sitting at 4 and 5, where I go, aha, I got to get rid of Russell Wilson. And I do believe Russ will get another season, and next year may be his last, but he will get another season with the Denver Broncos. So the Broncos now 4 and 5, winners of 3 in a row, taking down Green Bay, Kansas City, and the Buffalo Bills. Their schedule the rest of the way, they play Minnesota. If you would have told me 2-3 weeks ago we were getting Broncos, Minnesota on Sunday Night Football, I would say, flex, get rid of that. That's Sunday Night Football game this week. I'm curious about Josh Dobbs. I like the story of the Minnesota Vikings. And now Russ and Sean have been like, okay, maybe I want to see a little bit more of that team. Then after that, you get the Broncos and Browns. Broncos at Texans. Those 3 good games coming up. Broncos at the Chargers, Broncos at the Lions, Broncos, Pats, Broncos, Chargers, and then they wrap up the season in Las Vegas up against the Raiders. So you got some good opponents coming up. And we'll see how far the Broncos could take it. I don't think this team is making the playoffs. No shot, in my opinion. But when you have the coach and the quarterback and what they've done in this league before, they'll be able to beat some teams that they're not expected to beat. As you've seen the last 2 weeks with Kansas City, and then also their performance up against the Buffalo Bills. Russ will be back next year, and I never thought I would say that at any point this season. But that's where we are. And it's the same thing with Kyler Murray. Writing was on the wall. This was it for Kyler in Arizona. Now, coming off both of their Week 10 performances, the return of Kyler and Russ starting to steer the ship back in the right direction and having good stats, it's like, okay. I think both those teams are going to give those guys another opportunity. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. You there with me that Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson will both be back next year with the Arizona Cardinals and the Denver Broncos, respectively. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We'll take a break. When we come on back, we'll update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio with the News Brief.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Jets, Jets. Maybe get him back Aaron Rodgers? Maybe not. Here is the Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers on a potential return date via the Pat McAfee Show.
No, there's no set date. I mean, it could change. If I have a great week, this week and next week, that could be accelerated. If we are not in it in 3 or 4 weeks, that could take it a different way. But I expect us to be in it, and I expect to come back. So that's about all I can tell you at this point.
Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. Here's why. He's continuing maybe the biggest hogwash of a story, an inane story I've ever followed. Outside of the whole Manti Te'o and the girlfriend that never existed kind of story. I'm just talking about an agenda a player is pushing, trying to make people believe it so his name stays in the news. That's what's going on here. I don't care what Aaron Rodgers thinks, what ayahuasca he does, what darkness retreat he goes on. There is no way, outside of pure stupidity, that Aaron Rodgers returns to play for this team this year or is even cleared to play. Talking about, if I have a good week and then another good week, then maybe the timeline gets accelerated. Maybe I'll play, maybe I won't. We got to have something to play for. But I fully expect to be back this year, and I fully expect us to be in it. Not that the Buffalo Bills are world beaters. I've clearly torched them today. You play Buffalo next week. You already beat them earlier in the season. You're not going to beat them twice. Then you play Miami. There is a good chance right after the lasagna is served or your turkey served on Thanksgiving and you watch that game on that Friday, that the New York Jets are 4-7 after these next 2 games. There's a good chance of that. So I think they're going to be out of it real soon. The last little hope that this team had was up against the Raiders. And if you can't beat the Raiders, then you got some problems. And you got some splaining to do. But also, for Aaron Rodgers, if you're playing, you're probably not going to be fully healthy, I would imagine, with how fresh of an injury this is, an Achilles tear going back to week 1. So, you're going to get on the field behind a garbage offensive line when everything is setting up for next year for you to be the guy and potentially risk either further injury here or a new injury. This would be the dumbest thing in America. This would be the dumbest thing maybe in the history of sports. In like the last 2-3 weeks of the season, Aaron Rodgers comes back. For what? What are you accomplishing this year? Nothing. So I get it. He gives himself the out of, we got to be in it. I got to be healthy. But the fact that this is a story week in and week out, it's a joke. And I blame all of us because we're all stupid suckers at the end of the day. That's what we are. Aaron Rodgers defends Nathaniel Hackett, his buddy Nate Hackett, on the Pat McAfee Show.
Hackett's taking it hard on the shins. You hear that? You see that noise or no?
Yeah, I see it. I won MVP twice in the same offense, so I'm a believer in the offense, and there's a lot of positions you gotta play better.
I don't know about you guys, Stu. Maybe I'm lost on this one. Have you heard a lot of people going after Nathaniel Hackett? I think it's more so Zach Wilson stinks. I'm not saying he's getting no blame, but I think most of the blame's getting put on this line being horrible and Zach Wilson being an inept quarterback in this league. I'm not saying that there's no one saying anything about Nathaniel Hackett, but if I had to give Jets fans the 3 biggest reasons right now why this team isn't performing outside of Rodgers being injured, it would be Zach Wilson 1, the offensive line 2, and then I think the third one, and the offensive coordinator is no good, Nathaniel Hackett.
I think part of the reasoning for the question was there was a meme or there was a video going around where Hackett called a questionable play on 3rd and short that the Jets didn't get, and the cameras panned then to Aaron Rodgers right after the call, shaking his head in disgust. And people, seemed like maybe...
He disagreed with the play call.
Yeah, so maybe there was this drama where Rodgers was almost doubting Hackett. I think this was McAfee's way, to kiss up to his friend while also asking a question about Hackett getting some negativity around the two. But I think it kind of stemmed off of that.
Okay. I think for the most part, Hackett's received a pass this year. And what I would say to Aaron is, outside of you being with Nathaniel Hackett, what great success does he have in this league? Now, I'll give him credit. In Jacksonville, did a good job with Blake Bortles. But what recent successes he's had without Aaron Rodgers? Because this year the offense is crap. When you have other offensive coordinators making Josh Dobbs look good, and you look around last year, biggest joke of a head coach that we've seen. Well, maybe not in ever, because also you had Urban Meyer, but he was a big-time joke of a coach. So let's pump the brakes here on the slobberfest between Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers. Makes me sick. Let's go to Dan Campbell and going for it on 4th down, 4th and 2. Could have taken the field goal, left some time on the clock. This is via our friends Stoney and Jansen on 97.1 The Ticket in Detroit.
I had a feeling going into that game we needed to be aggressive, and I loved our matchup offensively, and I just knew our guys would respond. And here's what I would say because I tell my family this: just wear a diaper before some of these games, and I'll give them an alert. Say, put them on and be ready to roll.
Can we adopt the Lions on this show? Can we adopt the Lions, Stu? You really have the say here. Because Samter's real football team, the Jets, I know he's now a Chiefs fan, but his real football team, the Jets, where his actual heart is at, they stink. My football team has the fewest wins in the AFC, the New England Patriots, and somehow, between all of us losers, the biggest winner out of all of us losers are Stu with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Go figure.
Can we adopt the Lions as a show?
I think so. I think the Lions are very lovable, especially the fact they haven't been very good up until the last couple of years, and now, Campbell's great, Goff. It's a really good story. It's hard, unless you're a Vikings, Bears, or Packers fan, I think it's hard to dislike the Lions, so I think we could do that.
Now, as a show, if we were going to show our support to the Lions, and we would all wear diapers maybe later in the week, can we wear, sweatpants underneath the diapers, or do we have to clearly show the diaper is on the body part directly, and you've got to walk around with our legs out and everything like that? I'm just wondering.
I think we'd be doing everyone a favor if we had sweatpants under the diapers.
I don't know if they make a diaper my size, so that could be tough. I may need to get a custom diaper, but I would contemplate wearing a diaper to show support for Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions.
I got some diapers at home. They might not fit you. They might fit over your elbow.
Yeah, you're a beautiful baby girl. What was she born at? Can I guess? 7 pounds, 2 ounces?
Not even close, but nice
6?
Try. No. She was a small little nugget, but she's got very cute diapers. And they have little bears on them. Some of them are Disney.
Some lions?
Some Lion King diapers for you. I think that'd be really cute for you.
I don't think your daughter's diaper would fit around my big toe, if we're being honest here. Ack just walked into the studio and he walked right out with that line. Ack walks right in the studio. I said, your daughter's diaper wouldn't fit around my big toe. Ack goes, what the heck are we talking about? And he walked right out. Typical Ack right there. Here is Sean McVay. Will Matthew Stafford play and return for the Rams this week?
No, Matthew should be ready to go. He was out there taking part in individual today. He's making great progress, and so we're operating with the anticipation and expectation that he is going to be good to go. He'll be pushing through, but we expect him to be able to start and play and do his thing and lead the way this week.
So here's my question. This late into the season, if your anticipation is that Matthew Stafford's going to be coming back, why'd you bring in Carson Wentz? Now, Wentz would take any opportunity, and maybe he thinks he'll get in at the end of the season. They could shut down Stafford, or they weren't anticipating Stafford to come back. I thought the Wentz move was very unnecessary. And when they brought in Wentz, it made me think that Stafford was going to be out even longer, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Here is Matthew Stafford and how much longer he would like to play, this courtesy of the Pat McAfee Show.
I don't know. I don't think I'll go until the wheels completely fall off. They're wobbling a little bit right now as we speak, but no, I love playing this game. I love competing. I love being in the locker room with the guys. I'll never get that again, so I want to make sure I get as many opportunities to do that as I can. But I enjoy playing too much to hang it up.
So Les Snead once said, bleep those draft picks. And since you didn't have those draft picks, yes, you won. You went all in. You got a Super Bowl, so it's worth it. But this entire organization is now falling off because you didn't have the draft picks to kind of get younger and continue this thing. And here's my great concern with the Rams. They have too many guys that are 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Stafford, the wheels are starting to wobble. McVay, maybe I'll do TV. Then I'm going to sign a new contract. Then, maybe I'll do TV. Aaron Donald for 2 years. Yeah, I'm thinking about retiring. Now the guy isn't even thinking about retiring. The big three of that organization, 2 in and out for me to believe that they're going to find a way to get it right again with the LA Rams. Here is Patrick Mahomes on the Manning cast last night on player jersey numbers. Listen up.
It's even crazier now because everybody can wear the single digits. And, like, the linebackers are nickels now and vice versa, safeties. And so you have to go in. We actually go in every week and we really emphasize the numbers. Because, whenever you got a number that, like number 7 playing middle linebacker, that can really mess with your tails for the O-lineman. So it's cool. It looks cool. I'll give everybody that. But it makes it a little difficult for the QB.
Yeah, I really don't like the defensive players now wearing like what you would usually think are numbers for running backs, or even running backs wearing single digits as well. I don't like that. I saw the number. I don't know which player it was last night. I don't remember which team it was. It may be the ugliest jersey number I've ever seen. Just 0 on a football uniform? Like, I remember Tony Clark used to wear 0 when he was playing for the Mets. In a baseball uniform, it's fine. But on a football uniform, I don't think the number 0 looks good. What's your least favorite jersey number, by the way? What's the ugliest jersey number in sports right now? I think 0 looks really bad.
00 is very weird, too. And 99. I know Wayne Gretzky
I love 99.
Wayne Gretzky
you gotta be a big
was 99.
guy, though, to wear 99.
Yeah. Wayne Gretzky was 99, so that's what I think of. And, like a big defensive tackle or something where something about 99 doesn't work for me, but 00 is like the one that really gets me.
You know what doesn't look good? When I was at the Jet game last week, I saw a large fella in the number 1 Sauce Gardner jersey. If you're a big guy, not a good look to wear the number 1.
It's slimming.
No, it's not. That number 1 was begging to escape from being on that jersey uniform with the guy that was sitting in front of me during that Jets
We all
game.
know what the greatest jersey number in the history of jersey numbers is. It doesn't matter what sport it is.
What is that number?
It's number 21. 21 is the greatest, coolest looking jersey number in all of sports. In any sport, doesn't matter what position.
Roberto Clemente,
Sammy Sosa, Tiki
LT.
Barber, LaDainian Tomlinson.
Look at Samter. Smoochy.
Well,
Tiki, did you hear me? Down the hall, did you hear Samter just said he loves number 21?
My favorite 2 baseball players of all time, Sammy Sosa and Roberto Clemente, well before I even met Tiki. And I was a Jets fan back in the day. So.
Tiki, can you pat me on the head? Can you rub my stomach and give me a treat? Give me a break, jeez. Mike Tomlin, does he need to see more from Kenny Pickett?
Certainly. Man, we're going to need more, particularly as this road narrows. But guys like Kenny and myself, man, we're measured by wins and losses. He and I talk about that often and openly. We know what our jobs are. Our jobs are to win. That's where our focus is. I love the fact that he embraces that. Down in and down out are there some things to work on, certainly. But we've been working on those things, and we will continue until we get the desired result.
It is amazing that in the year of 2023, the Steelers are 6-3 with the quarterback that has X amount of touchdowns. Go around the room real quickly. I don't know if any of you guys know this off the top of your head. How many touchdowns do you think Kenny Pickett has on the season? Stu, quick guess, go.
I'll go 8.
Samter?
8 sounds about right. Let's go 9. Let's go Price is Right rules, 9.
You'd both be off the show. He only has 6 touchdowns, passing touchdowns.
Yeah,
on
if you
the
go
season.
over, you're out. You're done.
And in one of those games, he had 2 passing touchdowns. 1 touchdown against the 49ers, 1 against the Browns, only passing touchdowns, 2 against the Raiders, of course. Sorry, Stu. 1 against the Ravens and 1 up against Tennessee. Woof. All right, I'm going to guess Bill Belichick here. He was asked if Mac Jones is still his number 1 quarterback. I'm going to evaluate this, week of practice, and we'll do what's in the best interest of the team. But Mac's a hard worker, and, got a lot of hard workers on this team. Let's hear from Bill Belichick.
Yeah, we got a lot of things to work on this week as a team, and we'll work through those. So that's what we're going to do this week.
I hear that. And you bench. See, here's the thing. You bench the quarterback, and the Patriots are on a bye this week. And then they play the Giants coming off the bye. You bench the quarterback on the final drive. Even going into a bye week, I don't think he's starting next week. I really don't think he's starting up against the Giants. And finally, here is Jim Harbaugh talking about chickens.
The respect that I have for chickens. I know there was a time when I said that chicken is a nervous bird and I don't eat chicken, I only eat meat, but I was dead wrong. I stand corrected. These chickens are low maintenance and high production.
So he owns chickens now, Jim Harbaugh? That's what I gathered from that? And now he's praising chickens? What the heck is going on out there? Did the chicken, was that chicken on Connor Stallion's payroll? Did he go to Wisconsin and film the signs? That's just something I'm wondering there. That's bizarre. Some really bizarre sound, but that's Jim Harbaugh. And a guy that likes chickens, probably be liked enough in Buffalo. Chicken wings. See the signs there, folks? Jim Harbaugh, next head coach of the Buffalo Bills. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll come on back. You got to hear what Trevon Diggs had to say, and why I think it's an absolute joke that he's even commenting on this. But first up with the latest CBS Sports Radio update, here he is, the Act-Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flag.
Well, the Bills have taken a big step back this year, especially on offense, and after 4 more turnovers last night, they have fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. Joe Brady takes over in the interim. Cowboys linebacker Leighton Vander Esch is done for the season with a neck injury, and his career is in jeopardy as well. The Browns' Nick Chubb underwent a second surgery on his torn ACL. It was a success. He is expected back in 2024. While teams such as the Bucks and Celtics were adding pieces with the intention of adding another title, the Sixers were subtracting, but dealing James Harden has turned out to be addition by subtraction. They host Indiana tonight looking for their 9th straight win. Joel Embiid said one big reason for their fast start has been great chemistry.
Guys are happy to be, playing basketball, and, we're just having fun with each other. It's fun playing that way, and I think it translates to the court, because on the court, you just trust each other and, to make plays.
The Timberwolves have won 6 in a row, look to extend that streak tonight against the Warriors in San Francisco. Baseball's Managers of the Year will be announced tonight, and Padres owner Peter Seidler has passed away at the age of 63. I'm Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio is everywhere, Perloff, at home, in your car, and, of course, on your phone and tablet.
Maggie, you can find us on your local affiliate, Sirius XM Channel 158, or the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio.
Talking to the Pro Football Hall of Famer and Emmitt Smith.
You don't have a Mahomes in Dallas. You got a Dak Prescott that's efficient quarterback enough to throw the ball 35 times a game, maybe 40, maybe. You should have a running game that should balance that and create more opportunity for Gallups and everybody else to get down the field with play action if you run the ball effectively. If we believe in Tony Pollard that much to where we got rid of Zeke Elliott, well, damn it, use him.
Does it annoy you that Zeke's not playing for the Cowboys?
It does.
Why?
Why? Because I thought the 1-2 punch was awesome. And it does ignore me. It makes me hot that he's not a Dallas Cowboy.
This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. You know, it's very funny. Social media reaction a few weeks ago when Emmitt Smith joined us and said that as we just played it on the rejoin. That was actually met with a very positive response from Cowboys fans. Then today, I see Dominique Foxworth from ESPN He goes on Get Up, I think it was, and he's saying that Dak Prescott is the best quarterback in football right now. If you just go by the numbers, he's playing like he's the best quarterback in football. So I hear that, and I go, I don't even think he's the best quarterback in the state of Texas. Because right now, C.J. Stroud, if you ask me which quarterback would I rather have for the rest of the season, I'd rather have C.J. Stroud than Dak Prescott if all things are equal. So today, I've spent most of my day going to war with cockroach Cowboy fans, those drama Dallas choking Cowboys, because they're throwing a big-time parade and a big-time celebration because the Dallas Cowboys beat Tommy DeVito and the Giants. And anyone that has got back to me about the Cowboys and my take on C.J. Stroud being a better quarterback than Dak Prescott, they go, oh, well, just a few weeks ago, C.J. Stroud, he lost to the Carolina Panthers. And I said, well, didn't Dak Prescott throw an interception against the Arizona Cardinals? And all I'm saying about the Cowboys is it's amazing to me how dumb some of their fans could be. It really is. Your team the last 2 years, let's just look at this at a small scale, small sample size. The last 2 years, they've been a great regular season team. How many Cowboys fans, and it shows you how far this organization has fallen, how many Cowboys fans want to take a victory lap because Dak Prescott played well against a below 500 Buccaneers team on Wild Card Weekend on that Monday night? It's a flat-out joke. You would think they won the Super Bowl with the way that fan base is talking about that performance. Dak Prescott in the big games does not show up. And if he plays well in one good playoff game, he never repeats it the following week. Go look at the last 2 years. Couldn't get the ball snapped against the 49ers. Last year, plays well up against Tampa Bay. And then up against the 49ers, where his defense had a championship effort, he crapped the bed. So all you Cowboys fans that are falling for the bait once again, because you have these blowout victories and Dak's putting up big numbers, who have you defeated? And I get it. We all love an easy, stress-free victory. There's nothing better when you go up against an inferior opponent and you know at halftime the game is over. But go through the Cowboys' schedule. The Cowboys beat the Giants 40-0. They stink. They beat the Jets 30-10. The Jets are a bunch of frauds. They lost to the Cardinals. They're no good. They beat the Patriots. Oh, let me give you a slow clap there. You beat the Patriots 38-3. You got smacked by an actual legit opponent in the 49ers 42-10. You beat the Chargers, who the Chargers are the lesser version of the Cowboys, where they have all this talent and they never win. So congrats. You beat Brandon Staley by 3. You beat the Rams. They stink. You lost to the Eagles, where your quarterback choked at the end of the game. And then you beat the Giants 49-17. This is not a small sample size. 9 games into the season, and there's not a win on the schedule where I go, wow, I got to look at the Dallas Cowboys and say, maybe this is going to be their year. The Cowboys' ceiling is going to be getting to the divisional round of the playoffs. They will not be in the NFC title game this year. They will not win multiple playoff games this year. But it's amazing how, when that's said, and I don't think it's the majority of the Cowboy fan base, but you have a loud, and I mean a really loud, vocal minority. It's just ridiculous. The Cowboys can go get 11, 12 wins. We've seen the same song and dance the last 2 years, but when push comes to shove, they will not be good enough. Now, getting to Trevon Diggs, the brother of Stefon Diggs, it's amazing to me that he's popping off in the last 24 hours. And I think this is calculated. Stefon Diggs tries to say, I want to be in Buffalo the rest of my career. I love the Buffalo Bills. What happened in the offseason was no big deal. Nothing to see here. That's a bunch of baloney. It is. And Trevon Diggs knows the truth, or he knows Stefon Diggs' side of it. So Trevon Diggs last night tweets out, after another loss by the Buffalo Bills, man, 14 got to get up out of there. And then today, follows it up with saying, let's not forget he didn't start going off till Bro got there. Let's just be clear about Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs didn't start going off until he got to Buffalo. Josh Allen didn't start going off until he got Stefon Diggs. When Stefon Diggs got traded to the Buffalo Bills from Minnesota. He was a good wide receiver, but he was not perceived to be a top 5 receiver in this league. He had some good moments. Don't get me wrong. He's a damn good player, but we didn't know he was a great player. And he went to Buffalo, and to his credit, he became great. And he helped Josh Allen. But I also think Josh Allen helped Stefon Diggs as well. But it's funny, considering the source here with Trevon Diggs, that it's, my brother has to leave Buffalo. And let's trash the quarterback and say, let's not forget, he didn't start going off till my brother got there. Trevon Diggs, can you focus on your own team? Because the last time I checked, the Buffalo Bills have accomplished more recently than the Dallas Cowboys. We've seen the Buffalo Bills get to an AFC championship game, something the Dallas Cowboys haven't done since the 1995 season. So I don't want to hear this nonsense that Stefon Diggs has to get on out of Buffalo. And if you're advocating for you guys to team up, which would be a nice family affair in Dallas, why the heck are the Cowboys this great destination? You guys are very similar to Buffalo Bills. You're both good teams. You're not great teams. And you're not going to win jack. So let's stop with this nonsense from Trevon Diggs where he's trying to make a push to get his brother out of Buffalo. How about your brother be a better teammate? And how about they find a way to figure it out, Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs? But this is just nonsense. It really is. And it's laughable to me that it's coming from Trevon Diggs because it means two things. One, it confirms what Stefon Diggs said was no longer an issue, that 14 isn't happy, and he doesn't like this Buffalo Bills organization. And then two, it once again shows how delusional the Cowboys are, where one of their players, who I know is hurt right now and is out for the year, and I wish a speedy recovery to Trevon Diggs, but he's tweeting his brother's got to get on out of there. And I know he said before how much he would love to be on the same team as his brother. That's a fine thought. But why the heck should Stefon Diggs, if he wants out of Buffalo, go to Dallas? Outside of the family connection. Isn't it a similar spot where both of those teams could be good, but they're not great? So I don't really like this stuff coming from Trevon Diggs. And quite frankly, the Cowboys do a lot of talking this year. They do a lot of talking for a team that's 6-3, and they've beaten every opponent that sucks. But when they go up against good teams, the Eagles and the 49ers lose. So I did not like the tweets last night, especially his last two. Man, 14 got to get up out of there. And let's not forget, he didn't start going off till bro got there. And I don't know if Stefon Diggs has commented on this. I haven't seen anything. But if your brother's trashing your quarterback, I know he's your brother. But if what your brother was saying you disagreed with, wouldn't you publicly say that today? Because I don't know about you. If my family was doing this, I'd reach out to them and say, stop, that's not right. If you felt that way. But I don't know if Stefon Diggs feels that way. And I think what his brother's saying, he actually agrees with it.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Continue. This is Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. Former NFL and college quarterback, now ESPN NFL analyst Dan Orlovsky is going to join us coming up 40 minutes from now. We got to delve into the college football world. We know some jobs have opened up, as you did have Andy Avalos get fired from Boise State all within this past week. You saw Zach Arnett get fired from Mississippi State, and then the big one, Jimbo Fisher, getting paid over $70 million, getting fired as the head coach of Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher is now on the Ed Orgeron plan, where you're getting paid a whole lot of money to not coach. And Orgeron only got I remember he said, I got $30 million to sit back and do nothing. So when you had that from Ed Orgeron, go Tigers, that was a big number. 70-something million dollars is just on a different planet. It really is. So I guess good for Jimbo Fisher, even though personally he's got to be gutted. He's got to be upset. Yeah, you get to that $70 million. That's wonderful. But you know how these coaches are. They're weird. They're wired a different way. I think a lot of us sit back and go, oh, I could go sit on my ass and do nothing, and I get paid the full $70, $75, $76 million. That's awesome. But you know that Jimbo Fisher is going to be looking for that next opportunity. Now, I don't know where he's going to get that next opportunity. He'll get another job somewhere as a head coach, assuming he wants to continue to be a head coach. Maybe he goes into television. Who knows? But now that A&M job opens up, and that's going to be the most talked about job, and I don't think much is going to change. Another job is going to open up that's going to advance and usurp that A&M job, because A&M has an incredible amount of resources. Look at the money that they just invested in the head coach. And also, 2 years ago, they were the number one team in the nation in terms of recruiting. Now, it didn't translate onto the field, but they had the number one recruiting class. So they're all caught up to date with their boosters, NIL, and all that stuff. So that's a good job. Now, it gets tougher to win because the college football playoff is expanding to 12 next year. You're in the SEC, and we know that Georgia and Alabama are still the two top dogs. But we've seen schools not named Georgia, not named Alabama, win national championships, right? Look at LSU. They had 3 different coaches since 2000 win a national championship, with Ed Orgeron, Les Miles, and then Nick Saban. And when Nick Saban won that national championship, you knew who he was. You knew he was a good coach, but you didn't know that he would go on to be the greatest college football coach of all time. So you can win at A&M. You have the resources to win at A&M. So there's been a few names that have been tossed out there. 2 that have picked up a lot of national play. Coach Prime at Colorado with the Buffaloes, who got off to that really good start, and then their lack of talent did catch up, and their poor play inside the trenches did catch up to them, and their season's now going the wrong way, where before the season it was, they'll be lucky to get to a bowl game. And I remember Samter and I got into a heated argument this summer. Samter was like, 7-8 wins for this to be a success. And I'm like, pump the brakes there, Samter. 4 or 5 wins would be a heck of a year. But when you start off 3-0, you beat TCU, you beat Nebraska, and then you take care of business against Colorado State, and you're 3-0, you should be able, even if you're limping to the finish line, get to the finish line and get 3 more wins. But it doesn't look like this program is going to be in a bowl game, and it doesn't look like they're going to get to 6 wins. And they had an opportunity to win a game last week against Arizona, who's a top 25 team, and went right down to the wire, and they lost. They've had some close games. They blew the game against Stanford. They're up by 29, and they lose in double overtime, 46-43. So there have been some games the last few weeks where they've been close, but close isn't good enough. And now you have 2 more opportunities, Washington State and Utah, to get to 6-6 and become bowl eligible. And I don't think they're going to win both those games. I don't even know if they're going to win one of those games. So at best, you're probably splitting, and then you're 5-7, and you're hoping it's one of those funky years where a below 500 team gets a bowl invite. So in all likelihood, they're not getting a bowl invite. So Deion's name has been a hot name, and I can see why. Because say what you want about how this has gone the last few weeks, Deion brings buzz. Deion brings a certain pop to the program. And I said this going back to 2021, that if I was an SEC school, I'd hire Deion Sanders. I went right to the top of the Power 5. Had no problem with Deion Sanders if he got a Power 5 job and it was in the SEC. Now he goes to Colorado. I kind of expect Deion to stay, but I do wonder how many jobs come calling. Because even if he doesn't leave this offseason, this will set the stage for how much interest there is, and how much interest, even though we've talked about it a lot and other shows have talked about it a lot, and they've been thrown right into the national spotlight, inside the college football world, inside the presidents and athletic directors, how much interest did it drum up with them and stir up with them? And I'm curious how many legitimate schools come calling this offseason for Deion. And if A&M comes calling, what job are you going to get that's better than A&M? That's going to open up and that you're going to be in play for. And even though your sons are still there, Shedeur Sanders and Shiloh Sanders, and he's very close to Travis Hunter Jr., and he's still there, and we know that all three of those guys already transferred, so that complicates things. Would you be willing to leave after 1 year? For A&M, I know a lot of people would crush him for leaving. I think a lot of people would be annoyed, and that would be a big story. I'd have no problem if he leaves for A&M, because you never know when a job like that opens up again. So here is Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, getting asked in a press conference about Stephen A. Smith saying that A&M needs Deion Sanders and Coach Prime needs to go there.
Your thoughts on the Texas A&M coaching vacancy?
I want to win. I want to win a game. So you think I really do sit down and think about that kind of stuff? Like what strikes me about that, about myself, that you guys really think I sit down and say, yeah, Stevie A, yeah. Like, come on, I'm good. Like, we got to win. Let's focus on this week.
I'm going to use a great phrase that is credited to Deion Sanders. That sounded like a lot of bull junk to me. It really did. I get it. You could pull off the look of I'm only focused on the game. I'm trying to win a game. And you could get some people like sycophants to believe that. I know it's tough for coaches to answer these questions. They get paid a lot of money, though, to answer these questions. You could kind of get fooled by a coach into when they say something. Remember Saban all those years ago when he said, there's no way that I'll be the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. There's no way. Like, he was adamant. You're like, okay, yeah, I kind of believe it. That wasn't even him denying it. Play that one more time, Stu. I just want to hear that one more time. He never denied it. He just said he's just focusing on winning a game. One more time.
Your thoughts on the Texas A&M coaching vacancy?
I want to win. I want to win a game. So you think I really do sit down and think about that kind of stuff? Like, what strikes me about that, about myself, that you guys really think I sit down and say, yeah, Stevie A, yeah. Like, come on, I'm good. Like, we got to win. Let's focus on this week.
Let me just throw out a random show. Like, let's say, I got to briefly know Pat McAfee a little bit when Pat was here. And I had a great conversation with him 1 year at the Super Bowl where we sat down for like 25 minutes. Let's say if there was rumors that Zach Gelb was having conversations with Pat McAfee, or the Pat McAfee brand was interested in adding me on their show. And I get asked about this, and I go, I'm just trying to have a good show. I don't pay attention to guys like Pat McAfee that are begging me to go to their job, or people are advocating for me to go work with them. Like, I don't focus on that show. I'm just focused on my show. I'm just trying to have a great show today. I say that, everyone's reaction would be, he's gone. If they come calling, he's gone. He's interested. And that's what I kind of gathered from Coach Prime there. He didn't dismiss it. He didn't refute it. He didn't say no chance. And he was just focused on the now in the present. That sounds like, to me, A&M comes calling, he's listening. He's contemplating it. And they offer him X amount of dollars and are on board with his vision. He'd leave Colorado after 1 year, even if that means leaving his sons at Colorado. And you know what? Things could change. Things could change. Shedeur Sanders could leave Colorado. He'd go right to the NFL. I'm sure there'd be a team that would draft Shiloh Sanders too. Samter, what did you think about that? You've been around the business for a while. You've heard a lot of in this national radio landscape, a lot of college coaches say, yeah, it's not going to happen, or I'm just focused on winning a game, whatever the typical company line is. A&M comes calling. Is they offer him the job? Does Deion take it? That's my question.
I honestly think that he's tied to Shiloh and Shedeur. He's already brought them one place. I don't think they would get a...
No, you wouldn't. I don't think you get a waiver.
They wouldn't get a waiver. So if they want to get to the NFL, after this year, maybe, right? If they go, but he keeps saying they're coming back next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that he's going to A&M. I think that he's going to stay in Colorado because of his sons, because he says they're not going to the NFL yet, and they're not going to be able to get a waiver to go to A&M. So I don't think that it behooves him to go to A&M at this point, unless his sons are like, you know what, we're riding the hot hand. We're going to go to the NFL.
Which is definitely in play, I think.
Yeah, and he can't talk them out of it. They're adults,
Yeah.
right? They're over 18 years old. They can make their own decisions.
Well, that's the other thing. To my knowledge, and we hear more from Coach Prime, you hear a little bit from Shedeur Sanders, a little bit from Shiloh Sanders, but mainly from Coach Prime. They've said it. He said it. So with that being said, I do believe the family right their preference would be stay together for one more year. But Coach Prime gets that job offer from A&M, I'd take it. I'd take it, and I know it could be awkward, and it could be a weird family dynamic right there. I think Shedeur's ready to go embark on an NFL journey. I do. Shiloh could get drafted, and he could make an NFL roster. And yes, it's not ideal, but I think that it's a tough component, no doubt about it. But even though A&M's calling right now, what happens if next year they don't have a good season? There'll be teams that come calling because of the buzz that Deion brings to a university, but maybe not as good of a job as A&M, and A&M is a very good job. Now, here's the big name, I think. Here is a name of a guy having success right now, is at a really good job, and his name keeps on getting floated out there. I've even thrown it out there. Dan Lanning, the second-year head coach at Oregon, who has a chance to go to the college football playoff this year. Let's hear from Coach Lanning on his interest in A&M.
I think I've been really, really clear here since day one. Everything I want exists right here. I'm not going anywhere. There's zero chance that I would be coaching somewhere else. I've got unfinished business here. There's a lot that I want to accomplish here at Oregon. My number one priority is being elite here at Oregon.
I think we need to remember history here. I like Dan Lanning. I think Dan Lanning is a very sharp, young, good football coach. Dan Lanning needs to look no further than the institution that he's at right now. Remember Willie Taggart? Willie Taggart was at Oregon. Willie Taggart was fine for one season. The moment Florida State came calling goodbye to Oregon, which is a good job, a very good job. And Willie Taggart at Florida State was a disaster. 5-7, 4-5, fired. Then after that, he coached a few years at Florida Atlantic. You don't want to become Willie Taggart, where I remember Willie Taggart at South Florida being an alum of Temple University, and what he did at South Florida inside that American Athletic Conference, he was a hot name. You could very quickly go from the hot name, the guy that gets the big job, to then becoming a zero. And I think the world of Dan Lanning. But you have things rolling right now. You have things humming with the Ducks. I'm not leaving that job. You have good stability. That team's now going to the Big Ten. You got a monster brand. You got Phil Knight. Even though A&M has all the resources and A&M SEC and he has SEC roots, I'm not leaving what's working. Dan Lanning needs to learn from Willie Taggart. Just because another school comes calling with a big brand and they offer you a boatload of cash, don't leave where it's working. And not only is it working at Oregon right now, it's thriving. And there's a good chance they win the Pac-12 this year, and there's a really good chance they're in the college football playoff. I think Dan Lanning at this stage of his career would be foolish, and I like him a lot. I think he would be foolish, and I'd say this to him on the air right now if he joined us, to leave Oregon to go to Texas A&M. Zach Gelb here with you on CBS Sports Radio. We will take a timeout. When we come on back, we got a little reaction, overreaction, proper reaction to Week 10 of the NFL season.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Another NFL week is complete, which means it's another week to freak out about your favorite team. Which takes are truly crazy.
But sometimes a game can be so bad, it's almost good. You know what I'm saying? No.
And which are so crazy, they might be right.
He's 6'5", he's 245 pounds. He's probably a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end.
Zach lets you know in this week's edition of Overreaction or Proper Reaction.
Dan Orlovsky going to join us coming up 20 minutes from now. But first, it's Overreaction, Proper Reaction. Big Mike, CBS, Moist Mike, Michael Samter. What do you got for us today?
Cowboys crushed the Giants, but got some bad news as linebacker Leighton Vander Esch, who's on the IR, was ruled out for the rest of the season. An injury Jerry Jones called, quote, very significant loss for us. So overreaction, proper reaction, the Cowboys will seriously miss Vander Esch.
I've always been a big fan of Leighton Vander Esch. He was incredible at Boise State, had a remarkable year one back in 2018. But ever since then, unfortunately, you've had injuries impact his career, where he's only played a full season since his rookie season one other time, and that was 2021. So they know how to navigate life without Leighton Vander Esch. You clearly would prefer for him to be on the field and healthy than hurt, obvious statement. But I don't believe the defense is what's going to determine or make or break this Cowboys season. The defense is good. I know they've lost Trevon Diggs for the year, and now they have lost Leighton Vander Esch for the year. And it is a big loss, but you could survive that loss. Ultimately, it's going to come down to, can the quarterback, Dak Prescott, with the game on the line in a big game, and against a big-time opponent, can he get the job done? Because the last 2 years against the 49ers, nope and nope. So this does not impact number 4 on the field and the offensive side of the ball. So when you ask me the Cowboys will seriously miss Vander Esch, I will say that is an overreaction.
Now, the Jets offense, we talked about this yesterday. They scored just 3 offensive touchdowns in the past 5 games, with Zach Wilson
crazy.
Throwing just 1 touchdown pass in that span. 1 touchdown in 5 games.
And the Steelers are 6-3 with Kenny Pickett only throwing 6 passing touchdowns on the year. And they said we're supposed to have great offense in the year of 2023 in the NFL. What happened to that offense?
Yeah, quarterbacks are getting worse, apparently. Yesterday, Robert Saleh defended Wilson.
When speaking about Zach, I get it. There's a yearning for more or whatever it is, but I feel like he played a good game yesterday. It is hard to make changes just to make changes, just to pacify something, and especially when someone's not deserving. If he was deserving of it, I got you. Like, let's change something. To say that one person is the reason for everyone failing, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right.
Let me just say this before you continue the question. I would respect Saleh if he's criticized the kid one time this year. All he does is carry Zach Wilson's water. Stop. Just stop. I'm not even telling you he's the reason why they lost the game up against the Raiders. He wasn't the worst player. He wasn't the biggest problem on the field. But even in a game where he was like, okay, you didn't score a touchdown. And at the end of the game where they were finally driving, he threw an interception. So Saleh, you're starting to make this a Saturday Night Live skit with just you're slobbering and you putting like kitty gloves on your hands and basically bumpers up at the bowling lane when talking about Zach Wilson. All right, continue the question.
So anyway, and listen, if you watch the game like you said, like he said, and like what you said,
I watched it.
Zach Wilson, he wasn't terrible. There were a lot of
but that's the problem. He wasn't terrible.
Right.
No one's saying he's good.
But my point is that of the reasons why the Jets' offense sputtered, he was like the 4th or 5th biggest reason. The offensive line not blocking, stupid penalties, bad turnovers, and drop balls were the reason. Alan Lazard, CJ Uzama, Tyler Conklin, a bunch of different terrible penalties.
And with the game on the line, who threw the pick?
What?
And with the game on the line, who threw the pick?
But that's, again, he was the 4th or 5th biggest reason. There were multiple drives that he was rolling, drop pass, penalty, drop pass, fumble, whatever. So at the end of the day, like, he's bad, but he's not the only reason why the offense sucks.
And what Saleh's doing here is putting lipstick on a pig. And when you put lipstick on a pig,
she looks pretty.
It's still an ugly pig. I still say chop that pig up and give me some bacon.
I bet you she tastes delicious with the lipstick or not. I don't care.
And Peter, don't come call it.
So anyway, as we discuss Zach Wilson, overreaction or proper reaction, the Jets should start backup Tim Boyle or even go farther onto the practice squad with Trevor Siemian.
That's a proper reaction. It's been enough.
You want to see Tim Boyle?
It can't get any worse.
We're
And
not
if
talking
it
about
does,
Pat
at
Boyle.
least
We're
you
talking about
tried.
Tim Boyle.
Yeah, that's fine. And if it was Pat Boyle on the field, I would love to see Pat Boyle get smacked around a few times. It'd be fun. But come on. At this rate, there's no alternative. There's no hope with Zach Wilson. Your case for Zach Wilson was he wasn't the biggest problem. He still stinks. But I can't say he's good. He still stinks. But there's other reasons. Enough. Just try something else. There are some bad quarterbacks starting right now that look competent. And I'm not saying the Jets don't have other issues. They have a lot of issues on the offensive side of the ball. But you got to just try something else because right now, it's not working. So, yeah, let me see at least what Tim Boyle could do. Pat Boyle, Tim Boyle, Pat Boyle.
Are they related?
Just try.
Now, the Colts have won 2 straight. I'll bite over the Panthers and Pats, so I don't know if that really counts. But Gardner Minshew improved to 3-3 as a starter. He's 5-4 in games in which he's played because obviously Anthony Richardson's been hurt a lot. Over his career, Minshew has thrown 52 touchdowns to just 21 picks in 30 starts, 42 overall games. Overreaction, proper reaction, maybe not in Indy, but Gardner Minshew can be an effective starter in the NFL.
Yeah, proper reaction. The Jets may make the playoffs if they had Gardner Minshew. There's a take for you.
Isn't that crazy?
Put that in your pipe and smoke it,
I
all
would
right?
love to have Minshew magic on that team.
With the mustache in New York.
Oh, my God. I'd have a Minshew jersey already.
Minshew Mania at MetLife Stadium.
I might go get myself a Jets Minshew jersey and go back to being a Jets fan, even if they don't sign him, just because I love Minshew that much.
That would be fun. All right, yeah. Gardner Minshew could be an effective starter with the Jets. There you go. Proper reaction.
Now, we talked a lot about this team yesterday, and you ripped them apart. The Jags. Well, I mean, a little bit.
Yeah, well,
the Jags, they fell to 6-3 after their blowout to the Niners. Trevor Lawrence continues to be an enigma. The former number 1 overall pick has thrown more than 1 touchdown pass in a game just twice this year and had 11 games with 1 or fewer touchdown passes last year, including in the playoffs. So overreaction, proper reaction, Trevor Lawrence will never live up to the high expectations that he had when he entered the NFL.
So let me be clear, because it's the way the question is worded. It's, will he live up to the high expectations when he entered the NFL? So, those expectations were generational quarterback, best quarterback in the league, all-time great, is going to change football. He's a really, really good quarterback. Finally, with good coaching last year, he got to the second round of the playoffs. I still believe you're going to walk away from Trevor Lawrence's career and say he's a great quarterback. But changing the game, being the best quarterback in the sport, being this unicorn, something that we've never seen, truly one of one, or being him, as the kids would say, no. Be a top 5 quarterback in the league.
Hall of Fame potential?
Oh, I think he can make the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
But you can make the Hall of Fame and not change the sport. You can make the Hall of Fame and in some way, it sounds weird saying this, still not meet the hype where you were supposed to be going into the NFL. And that's how big the hype was for Trevor Lawrence. You said Trevor Lawrence will never live up to the high expectations when he entered the NFL. I think it's a proper reaction because he's going to be great, but it's with how crazy the expectations were. It was all-time great. And I don't think when he retires, we're going to look at him as a top 5 quarterback in the history of the National Football League.
Now, the Vikings, they won their 5th straight and 2nd in a row thanks to the newcomer Joshua Dobbs, who just continues to impress week in and week out.
Can you take me higher?
No, thank you, sir.
You don't like Creed? I love Creed.
You know what? Scott Stapp just rubbed me the wrong way. He's just a little bit weird to me.
All right.
And something about Creed just never really worked for me. But that song is very catchy.
It is.
Now, we know that obviously injured 35-year-old quarterback Kirk Cousins is a free agent after this season and is 50-37-1 as the Vikings signal caller. So overreaction, proper reaction. The Vikings should bring back Kirk Cousins next year.
I think the Vikings are going to be a happening destination. Now, I still think there's a chance, even though Brock Purdy played well last week, that it doesn't end well this season for the 49ers. They're interested in Kirk Cousins. But if this is like 2 more years of Kirk Cousins, I wouldn't be opposed of it. So when you say the Vikings should bring back Kirk Cousins, yes, it's definitely something that they should consider. I don't think that's an overreaction. I actually think that's a proper reaction.
Now, the New York Giants, speaking of these New York teams, they are a dumpster
Remember New York
fire.
football is hope coming off a great season for the Giants, and the Jets had Aaron Rodgers. We're not even ready to serve the lasagna or serve the turkey on Thanksgiving.
We're not
Whatever
serving
your
lasagna.
choice of preference is, if you're a sheep and you like to serve turkey, go ahead. If you like Thanksgiving and do Thanksgiving the right way and actually enjoy your meal, it's the lasagna. But both New York football teams have no hope going into Thanksgiving. And we still have a little over a week until Thanksgiving.
And if you think about the third New York team in Buffalo, think about where expectations were before the season and what they are now with the three New York teams. Now the Giants.
Remember all those Bills fans? Yeah, the real New York team. Oh, you guys stink as well right now.
Now they've fallen to 2-8. The Giants. They've been outscored by a league worst. Get this. 148 points.
That's not good.
A negative 148 differential, which is 100 points more than the next worst team, the Patriots, which are at minus 97.
And they suck, the Patriots.
It is crazy. Now, overreaction, proper reaction. Brian Daboll is on the hot seat.
I don't think so. Now, we know the Mara family has moved quickly through the last few years through a bunch of coaches. He just won Coach of the Year last year. They don't have a ton of talent. They are dreadful, though. I thought they would regress this year. I didn't think they would face plant. He'll get a third season because if you fire another coach, you go to like the Browns a few years ago, where every year or two you're hiring a new GM and a new head coach. I do believe Daboll is going to be back for a third season, so I will say that is an overreaction when you ask me if Brian Daboll right now is on the hot seat. But he'll enter next year on the hot seat, just not right now.
Now, last one. This is a very interesting inside the statistics kind of question. Now, Justin Fields has missed time for the Bears. Tyson Bagent hasn't looked terrible, winning 2 of his 5 starts. More notably, and this is where it gets interesting, Bagent has been sacked on just 3.4% of his dropbacks, which is the best in the NFL. Compared to Fields, who is getting sacked 13% of the time, 32nd best in the NFL. So clearly the offensive line hasn't changed for the Bears. The only thing that's changed is the quarterback back there. So, overreaction, proper reaction. Bagent should get us a legit shot to win the job even when Fields returns.
I don't even know if the Bears should play Justin Fields. And I don't know if Justin Fields should even want to play. Because you know you're heading to a divorce. Like, who I think is the better player, I still think that Justin Fields is the better player than Tyson Bagent. But I don't see, for both sides, why it behooves one side or the other to actually play, because Fields, you know you're going to your next team, and the Bears stink. And for the Bears, the stock of Justin Fields, I think most people look at Justin Fields and say, yeah, he has to prove it, but we think the Bears messed him up, and there would be enough teams that are interested. So I'm going to say, when you ask me, Bagent should get a legit shot to win the job when Fields return. I'm going to go proper reaction, because I don't think it benefits the Bears to play Justin Fields anymore. It's not really an endorsement of Bagent. It's more so it doesn't make sense to play Fields with the fact that you're going to trade him coming up at the end of the year. So that's a little overreaction. Proper reaction is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Let's take a break. We'll delve into this Bills situation next. Also go around the league with former NFL quarterback and current ESPN analyst Dan Orlovsky when he joins us on the other side. But standing by first with the latest CBS Sports Radio update, here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, the Bills are 5-5. Josh Allen has 13 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Ken Dorsey is the guy that takes the fall today. The Bills fired their offensive coordinator after last night's loss, and Joe Brady takes over in the interim. Cowboys linebacker Leighton Vander Esch is done for the season with a neck injury. His career is also in doubt. After winning its first title, Denver is off to a terrific start at 8-2, but you'd never know it from the sound of head coach Michael Malone, who was forlorn after Sunday's loss to Houston, in which the bench had a total of 8 points.
It's not my responsibility to get guys going. I mean, you're an NBA player. Colin Gillespie, I thought, went out there and played his heart out. We have to, have to find ways. I can help Christian, Julian, Peyton figure out how they can be better out there, but I can't get them going. That's something that each individual has to do.
The loss came after Malone's contract was extended. His team will host the Clippers tonight. Dallas is also 8-2 and will take on the Pelicans in New Orleans. While the Sixers have the league's longest winning streak going, they'll go for their 9th in a row against the Pacers. And baseball's managers of the year will be named shortly. I'm Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio is everywhere, Perloff, at home, in your car, and, of course, on your phone and tablet.
Maggie, you can find us on your local affiliate, Sirius XM Channel 158, or the free Odyssey app.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. Let's head out to the guest line right now. Welcome in former NFL and college quarterback, now a superstar at ESPN. And that is the great Dan Orlovsky here with us. Dan, appreciate the time as always. How you been, my friend?
I'm doing good, bud. How are you doing, man?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. I know it's been a while, but appreciate you jumping on board today as it's very busy for you during football season. Let me start you off with the Bills. We know the story now. Another disappointing loss. You see Ken Dorsey get fired today. Joe Brady's taken over as the offensive coordinator. If Joe called you and said, Dan, I evaluate your insight, I want to know how to change the Bills' offense and get this thing fixed, what would you say to him?
Yeah, number one, take the quarterback, put him under center for at least 30% of your offensive snaps. I think not only does that help Josh, it helps their offensive line, it helps the receivers. Number two, they're great at it. It's not just kind of – so, Zach, so when you go under center and you run the football a little bit and you tie that run action to play action – everybody's job is easier. The offensive line, their job is easier. The receivers have more time to get open down the field. Josh has got maybe a little clearer windows. They can create explosive plays, which they've been very bad at this year. So starting point that. Number two, they got to get less predictable. When they line up in their 2x2, two guys on the right, two guys on the left, shotgun, they're running really one of two plays, an RPO or a short end to Stefon Diggs. So the predictability of their offense is got to be. They've got to become more varied in their stuff. Number three, they got to build more pass game through Steph as the number one guy. We are trying to get the ball to Stefon Diggs, and we're not trying to throw him 5-yard passes. We're trying to throw the ball into some chunks and some explosive elements down the field to him. So there's more to that, but those are like those three starting points that I would sit here and say that's got to be something that changes.
I don't think it's salvageable in terms of Sean McDermott. I just think that relationship, and I like Sean a lot, it's run its course now, and they've reached an apex under Sean, and I think they need a new voice in. You know, I know it's easy, and I led this show off today saying with the stuff going on at Michigan, maybe Harbaugh's looking to go back to the NFL. I keep on going to Harbaugh and the Bills, and it just feels like the perfect fit. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow, yeah. So in relation to Harbaugh and the Bills, Harbaugh's track record speaks for himself when it comes to success, when it comes to his development and usage of young quarterbacks, you know, and getting those guys to play at high levels. So whether it's Buffalo or any team that might bring him on board, like it makes sense. He again, the track record speaks for itself. I don't know if I'm there with Sean McDermott just yet, Zach. I remember 4 or 5 weeks into the season, this was the number one offense in football. Josh was playing MVP level football, and it was arguably the best team in ball. And then ever since, like that, you know, almost like going over to London, it feels like this is a different football team now. Part of that is injuries, obviously, and the demise of the offense. So I still think that there are things that could be righted for this football team to get back into that mix. Their next month is brutal, but I'm not ready to say it's Sean McDermott's not their future as the head coach.
Dan Orlovsky here with us. How do you view Russell Wilson now as a quarterback?
Yeah, Russell's playing good football. Is it clean football? No. Is it ball distribution on time and rhythm football? No, but that's not who Russell is, and I think myself and other people maybe kid ourselves when they got Sean Payton thinking he would become that. He's not, but some of that playmaking and elusiveness is back. And so Russell Wilson's played good football. And Zach, I was asked this maybe 6 weeks ago by Greeny, 5 weeks ago. He was like, man, Russell's playing bad, and, should they be thinking about the future? And my point was, if Russell keeps playing the way that he has played the first month, they won't, and they won't need to. And I kind of still remain adamant about that is if Russell continues to play this way, the quarterback question in Denver, at least for the short term, is going to be Russell Wilson.
It's kind of funny because for the last 9-10 weeks, all we've done has, and I've been guilty of this, say Russ is probably going to be gone for the Broncos after this year because that was the conversation before the start of the season. And even the same thing was said about Kyler Murray. When was he going to get back? He comes back, and Kyler Murray wins a game for the Cardinals, only their second victory of the season. Right now it feels like, Dan, Kyler next year going to be back with the Cardinals, and also, like you just said, it does feel like that Russell's going to be back with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, it feels that way with Denver. And part of that narrative with the Russell-Denver situation, Zach, was they were so bad. And it was, well, this team's going to have like the first or second pick in the draft potentially. So and we know how special some of these quarterbacks coming out. So now that the team is doing better and Russell's playing well, mid-November doesn't feel like they're going to have one of those early draft picks. In relation to Kyler in Arizona, I was in many ways blown away by what Kyler did on Sunday. Did not look like a guy who had missed a year of football. Did not look like a guy who came off ACL surgery. It's one game. Played really well. It's impressive. Great start. Hats off to him. I want to see if he can continue to string it together. I think the more impactful parts of the Kyler conversation is, to my knowledge, his contract extension doesn't actually start until next year. So, while moving on from him might be a thought, financially it's just going to be outrageous because you're never going to get performance from that contract at all. So he keeps playing the way he did on Sunday, and because of the makings of the contract, I can see it.
Wrapping up with Dan Orlovsky, I saw your colleague at ESPN, Dominique Foxworth, said that right now Dak Prescott is playing like he's the best quarterback in the NFL. I disagree with that. I would not even say that he's the best quarterback in the state of Texas right now. I think C.J. Stroud's playing better football against better teams than Dak Prescott is. How'd you react to that when you heard that today on Get Up?
Yeah, I love Fox. Yeah, I agree. C.J.'s played better. Dak's played really good. He's had one awful game, but he's played really good. He beat the Giants, who have been just falling apart over the last couple weeks and decimated by injuries. I don't think he's played quarterback better than Jared Goff has played. I don't think he's played quarterback better than Tua Tagovailoa has played. I don't know if he's played better than Jalen Hurts, even though Jalen has had some interceptions that have been uncharacteristic. So that is a true thing. So I don't know if Dak has been unbelievable. Played great against Philly a couple weeks ago. I think that was more of a Philly thing than an unbelievable Dak thing. So we'll see when he plays against Detroit here in a couple weeks how they play and whatnot. But I will give him credit. He's playing good football.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Lions. What are your expectations for them the rest of the way? Because they are maybe the easiest team to root for and pull for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think the NFC is two clear teams, San Francisco and Philadelphia. And then there is a group of Dallas and Detroit that probably is in that second tier. I don't know if I'm ready to put Seattle in that yet, but they could be in that conversation. Detroit can go score with anybody. And how you want them to score. You want them to throw it, you want them to run it, you want them to screen you. However, I think the concern is, can they be good enough on defense? They're definitely better than they were last year, but can they be good enough against teams that can score, which is obviously those three teams in the NFC that I just mentioned outside of Detroit, to give their offense a chance? I think that's going to be the unknown. Some of the injuries on their back end have played a part in that, and they got to get pass rush outside of Aiden. But they can go score with anybody, man. So I do think that they will be in the mix for that Final Four NFC group.
Your best educated guess, Dan Orlovsky. Where is Bill Belichick coaching next year?
Well done. I'll answer it this way, Zach. I don't think that Coach Belichick is coaching in New England, and that's shocking to say.
Do you think he's potentially coaching with the Commanders or the Chargers, Dan, next year?
I think if both those teams make decisions to move on from their guys, the Chargers are intriguing because of Justin. What happens in Chicago? What happens in Washington? I hope Arthur Smith keeps in Atlanta because I'm a big Arthur Smith guy. So I think all of those organizations, in any organization that decides if and when they move on from their coach, is probably going to call Belichick and or the Patriots to see what their situation is. But the way things are going in New England, it just doesn't feel like he's going to be there.
You know Belichick loves the Giants. Could the Giants maybe be in play? I don't think they're going to move on from Dable after 2 years, but does Belichick change the equation?
Wow. I don't know if he would do that because the ties to the Patriots and, maybe out of respect with that. And I'm with you. I hope the Giants don't move on from Brian Dable because I'm a fan.
Gotcha. So have I said the team yet that you supposedly know? I saw this clip go viral today. Have I said the team yet? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out here. I was trying to be slick, but I guess I wasn't.
Oh, no. I know what you're trying to do. It's well done. Again, you hear rumors all the time about stuff, so it's like, I heard this rumor. I've never heard it before, but it was surprising because it's Coach Belichick to me. So, who knows if it's got legs or whatnot, but I'm closer now to believing it's not New England.
Gotcha. So come on, Dan. Just between you and I, who's the team? Let's go. We've been friends for years.
Yeah.
I gotcha. I'll let you run. I appreciate the time. You've been awesome on ESPN. I enjoy watching you talk about football wherever it is. Thanks so much for doing this, and you be well.
All right, buddy. Thanks, man.
There you go. Dan Orlovsky joining us. I felt like I was interrogating him. I should have been like Jack Bauer. You better start giving me the answers right now. I'm going to be cutting off your fingers, Orlovsky. And I saw that clip with McAfee today. He's been hearing some rumors. And I kind of agree with him. I don't think Bill Belichick is back at One Patriot Place next year. All righty. It is a Zach Gelb show on CBS Sports Radio. That concludes our Tuesday extravaganza. Coming up tomorrow, Chris Jenkins from the Michigan football team will join us. We will also have a Take 5 Wednesday. I'll give you my top 5 teams in college football and also the NFL. And we'll have our latest college football playoff rankings. We're going to see Michigan, Georgia take Ohio State down for that number 1 spot, or will the committee stay status quo with what they have done so far? Fun show today. Big thanks to everyone for checking us out on the radio or in the YouTube chat. Also, I'd like to thank Moist Mike, Stuart Kovacs as well, and my guest, Dan Orlovsky, who you just heard, and Angelo Cataldi. We'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody, at 6 p.m. Eastern. Man, it's in the old time slot. 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Come on, Gelb. Get us to the finish line. All righty, we out. Bye-bye. Peace.